No, I think it's a very interesting one, that, because I mean, obviously you know, the debt downgrade in August. I mean, it was a surprise, because you'd had this this debate about raising the debt ceiling, and it seemed to me that, you know, it was the first example of a kind of immaturity in politics that you don't really expect. I mean, you know, the Tea Party people, you know, whatever you think of the Tea Party people, they are not practical politicians, and there's quite a strong strand of that here. I mean, people, you know, and I haven't read all the papers this morning, but I'm sure there is stuff around about, you know, how can George Osborne and David Cameron say they're cutting the debt when debt is going up by X hundred billion over this Parliament. Well, you know, the fact is that if you've got a budget deficit of 150 billion, you can't go down to zero the next year. You know, it just isn't possible. And if you tried to do it, you would inflict so much recessionary damage on the economy that you would then end up with a budget, you know, a bigger budget deficit. But that essentially is what the Tea Party people were saying when they said the debt ceiling couldn't be raised, because they were saying you've got to eliminate the budget deficit overnight, and that can't happen. But I think the fear is that you know, that kind of attitude is now, and those kind of extremes of politics, which we always thought America didn't have now got into the, you know, they're now elected politicians, and, you know, almost that the political process has become you know, has lost its maturity. And you will know that, you know, recently you've had this special committee which was supposed to be finding ways to cut the deficit in a politically, cross-party acceptable way, and in the end had to give up, saying we haven't been able to do it. And you know, one of the two things that the OECD warned about on Monday, one of them was the Eurozone implosion, but the other one was about America and American debt, and about the fact that if they can't agree on measures that are politically acceptable, then automatic measures kick in to reduce the deficit, which could be hugely damaging, because they're not crafted. You know, they're deliberately clumsy. And you know, they're made deliberately clumsy so as to put pressure on politicians to come to a deal. And then when they, you know, if they haven't been able to come to a deal, you get the clumsy measures, and that is a real fear, I think. So, you know, I mean, although, you know, overall, America, you know, by now, you know, back in the summer, a lot of people thought America was going back into recession, and the recent data has suggested that's not the case. You know, the US economy has held up better than people feared. But that debt thing is a real concern, I think, and I say, whether it's that the president hasn't been stronger, whether it's just the the composition of Congress and the fact that the debate is not very mature, but it is quite worrying, I think. It's very worrying for America as well, you know, as well as for the rest of the world. America, you know, whatever happens, you know, it will be some time before America is not the largest economy in the world. You know, we're talking about, you know, the 2020s at the earliest before China becomes a bigger economy. So what happens in America is hugely important to us all. Yeah.